well, there's a 1% chance that that could happen. And you're always like, oh no.
A bit
Oh
not.
no.
Please do that more. Please do that voice more often, especially in reference to Sam.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 44 of the Gollum's Gamers podcast, which is a little bit of a special one, as tonight we are going to be doing a Q&A episode to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of us making content here on the Gollum's Gamers.
James, kiss the badge.
Show us, James.
Come on.
So before we get underway, though, tonight I am joined by Vince, Sam, Ash, James, and Adam. And as always, you can find us on Spotify and Instagram by following the links in the description down below. So it was actually the six of us who were on the very first episode that we did that went up on May the 15th of 2023.
God, that is so spiritual.
Which was the City of Kings preview. And this episode will be going live on the 15th of May 2024. So tonight in this Q&A, we'll be answering questions that were submitted over the last week or so through Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. But before we get started, though, as we look back on this first year that we've had, did anyone have maybe anything to say about the channel, how everything's gone so far, anything like that? As Sam walks away at the...
That might be the most perfect Sam moment.
Yeah, that's how much Sam loves the channel.
No, he's just gone to get a beer, guys. He's gone to celebrate.
That's excitement. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. I had a little technical difficulty there. What was the question?
What was your favourite standout moment from the first year on our beloved channel? So many to choose from, Sam.
It's got to be James's 6.
That's
That
exactly what I was
was
thinking as well.
one of the hardest moments. It's the fact we all were there in my flat thinking, oh, James is going to instantly lose. There's only one possible way he can win this game. Dismounts Elendil, rolls a 6. It was just insane.
Personally, wasn't my favourite.
What?
It was genuinely a bad tactic.
Oh yeah, I said to James, like,
That's what a coward would say.
this is bad, but if it works, fair play, and it worked. I mean, I'd probably say that destroying Ash's soul and beating him 12-0 and the first time he appeared on the channel was hilarious.
That's his first bat rep. Yeah, it was, wasn't it? The hero.
Like,
yeah.
Him being third in the league, such a lemon player, instantly just loses 12-0 and all the viewers think he's shit. That brought a lot of joy to me.
The amount of times in like the voiceover when I did the table, I had to keep on saying, and Ash is awful. Game 1, 12-0 loss to Sam. That about 50 times because he didn't play until game 4 or something. Yeah.
That was a good moment.
Yeah. I would say probably for me, the highlight, has probably just been doing the bat reps kind of as a whole because, they can be long and, tiresome at times to record and edit and all that sort of thing. But the first 6 months was obviously us only doing the podcast and everything. And I guess as people kind of got to know us through the podcast and everything, obviously then we brought that to actually playing the game as well. So, yeah.
I think it's just good fun. I enjoy, especially as we all live all over the country from each other, I just genuinely enjoy chatting. Like we chat before the pod. We basically just chat the same on the pod. And then when we end it, we chat some more. And it's just basically you get to see your friends that you don't get to see because we're physically far away, but virtually we can unite.
Indeed.
And it's a message of harmony.
Oh, what a lovely way to kickstart it. But
beautiful message.
Some more, Vince, any highlights or anything for you from the first year as a whole? Anything at all?
No, I think I'll echo what Ashley just said about the hobby bringing us all together. It's really nice to be part of such a good group of people.
Team.
As well as Lemon Gamers, these are all genuinely really, really nice people. And yeah, I've really, really loved getting to know you.
Wow, I feel warm.
That is actually really nice. That is
are melting right now. Adam, how are you going to top that?
I can't.
You can't. Don't try.
Can't top
Adam,
that.
you've got.
No, I like the fact we just contribute to an already really good community. Harry from Enmoot probably got me into the old podcast sort of idea of listening to things while I paint, and knowing that we do the same now for other people, albeit it does make me laugh when we arrive at events and people look at me and go, "Oh, I don't like your list, it's rubbish," and they just know everything ahead of time. That's always funny.
Do you
But
think it makes events
yeah.
slightly harder for us in general as a team because people know, or people that have seen? Because basically we say all the weaknesses of our lists in public, and then the people that are going to events may go, "Oh, I know all your weaknesses."
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are some people that listen to every minute of every pod that we do. So those people will know, yes, everything that we say about all our lists, you know.
To those people, I commend you, and you deserve
Yes.
every edge. Well done.
You have suffered enough if you've had to listen to us every minute.
Shout out Stephen Denby. Come on. So, okay, with all that then, we are going to get into the Q&A. Like I said, all these questions came in over the last week or so. So we are going to kick things off with a question from Robert Stevens, 3847, who asks Sam specifically, where did Sam get those Pompey dice? As James Goebel flexes his Pompey shirt.
Yeah, probably should be wearing mine, which is a shame. But no, I think I got them off. I don't know why I got them, if I'm honest with you. I think I just wanted Poppy dice. Like, I don't think there was any specific reason. But I just went on. It's the place where people get all the widgets from. I forgot what it's called. It's
Counterattack.
That's it. Counterattack bases.
So did you order them? I didn't even know that you did that.
Yeah, you literally it was just £1 per dice. Put a custom logo on the 6, and I just copy and pasted the most BTEC Pompey logo from Google Images.
How many did you get next? You've got loads, haven't you?
Oh no, I've only got 4. Two white and 2 dark
There's
blue.
actually quite a funny story about this. Sam goes, "Oh, should we order Pompey dice?" Yeah. Me and James are like, "Yeah, let's order Pompey dice. That'd be great." "Oh, okay, guys, I'll order one for you." Thanks, Sam. That'd be really good. Instantly gets the Pompey dice. Next event. "Oh, Sam, can we have one of those Pompey dice?" "Nah, they're mine."
I actually really like them,
all.
so I think I'm just going to keep them.
Yeah.
It's because
Cheers, Sam.
I remember
That's very
originally-
Gollum of you, Sam.
I know. Well, it was because originally I read it as like you got 16 dice for like £5 or something, and it was way cheaper. But then when I realized I got to checkout and it was £1 per dice, I only had 4. I thought,
You were like,
oh,
God,
screw
that's
that.
far too much money to give to
Yeah.
my friends. A whole
Who do I think I
pound.
am? Then I totally kept them myself. But yeah, there was literally just on any dice making website, just chuck a Pompey stock image on the 6 and
fancy some Pompey dice. Yeah. And they don't do too well for you either, do they? Because
they do pop up occasionally. No, I just have way too many cursed dice that I prefer, because when I roll the 6, it's funnier. I.e., Danny, Dave Farmer face. The Pigmar dice is now my new fave.
You've been actually flexing that a lot more recently, haven't you?
Yeah, the Pigmar dice can go a little bit crazy sometimes. As well as there's a few others like and the new Masters dice. I use them currently, which I did think they were a bit bad to start with, but they've I've
getting
gotten
better.
a little bit more. Yeah,
You got to wear them in. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's going to do it. Thank you very much for the question, Robert Stevens. Moving on, next we have a question from Ned Merrick, who asks, "Can you elaborate on the heroic hold action?"
Vince enters the building.
This comes over.
It's a question for me, isn't it?
It is really. He hasn't said that, but it's implied. So
yeah. So for those of you who missed that amazing idea,
yes, groundbreaking.
The idea behind heroic hold is on a turn you win priority, you might not necessarily want to move first. You might want to move second and react to whatever your opponent's doing. That's quite advantageous, especially in the early stages of the game, where you want to kind of wait and see, and then maybe just counter whatever they're doing. And it could be a good use of might. You could think of it as a reverse heroic move. You might want to move second, and yeah, I think it would be quite an interesting addition to the game.
They
A bit like
the-
foresight points. Like Elrond kind of uses his foresight points in that manner. So if you gave, captains access to heroic hold, it might,
Yes,
give
saying that,
people
I do think it's a real, like the foresight points that Elrond has. Obviously, everyone knows that I'm an Elrond fanboy, but that aside, I just think the foresight.
never seen you use that model.
When the time I use Elrond, he's just not that good. But I mean, he is. But yeah. Yeah, I just think the foresight points that there isn't anything else like that in the game, is there? There isn't any sort of other
A
mechanic.
real heroic hold would genuinely be such a skillful heroic to use properly, because the ultimate way you would do that is have the heroic hold only affect a very select number of models, so
Yeah.
that you win
Yeah.
priority, go first with all your army, then let your opponent counter, and then you get to counter that.
Yeah.
That would be
it'd
really,
be really
cool.
interesting, yeah.
Would definitely add a new dynamic to the game,
Yeah.
and would help lists like AOL, any Angmar list, Magic. It just would make Magic way, way, way better. Which it
I remember
definitely
Sam.
needs.
I remember Sam not being a fan because he thought that heroic move is still going to be, more important, which I do kind of see where it's coming from, but it's just an option that's there in case you need it in those niche moments, right? It's not going to be, we're not saying it's going to be more important than heroic moves, but those times where you think it's going to be useful for you, you can use it. It's just at your disposal, a bit like heroic march. You might not always march every single game, but it's just an option there.
Just give.
I don't know if you just give it to captains or if you give it to more heroes, but
captain heroic hold, because then they've got heroic march to make people go faster, and then heroic hold to slow them down.
I think it'd be a good one for captains. So it give captains even more kind of use, right? Give them.
I think if every captain
make them a bit more value.
Hold tomorrow, it wouldn't break the game, would it? It just
it'd make them better. It's not going to make them worse, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think a great example of where heroic hold could be used, would be a useful scenario, would be in our back rep versus me and Vince in our Angmar versus last night.
Exactly.
First time, Vince would have loved a heroic hold
man.
in that moment.
There you go.
I would have been so desperate for that heroic hold at the beginning. Yeah.
Go and check out the bat rep, guys, and it will become very clear.
Apparent why. Yeah.
Why Vince would love a heroic hold.
So
Love it. Okay. Well, that is going to do it. Thank you very much, Ned, for the question. Moving on next, we have Sean White 5750, who says, I will give you a gaming related question for your Q&A. In your Mystic Ball stroke reading the stars, where do you see the meta going by the end of the year? What do you think may shape the meta? E.g. Sully nerf, Emperor nerf, Arnor made to order, stroke strong legion. So we see things going by the end of the year. Obviously, we're already halfway through the year and nothing's really happened.
I think we pass this question on to our emergency pod expert, James Gopal. Where do you see the meta going, James?
Well, Mr. Ashley Walker, as I think as hinted at in the question, it's going to be very dependent on how many people buy Arnor and which legions come with this new supplement.
I think it's safe to assume a lot of people are going to be buying and playing Arnor.
Yes.
I think I said, I said this to you. I said this to you and to James and Ash, didn't I? About I had like a meta spiel. I don't know where we were. And I said, "Oh my god, Witch King Sully's going to be even better when."
Yeah, you did. I remember.
Why? Because of the domino effect.
Go on, give that spiel. It was good.
It was, if Arnold comes out, people play Arnold, and then what does? Oh no, it wasn't that Witch King Sully would be better, but it would basically revert to what's happening now when it comes to Witch King Sully would be played more because it does well into Arnor with the transfix and then just basically trying to kill their line. And then people would take crossbow spam lists, which is what Jay did, and then you take the blisters, and then it goes back to taking Blood and Night and the Shadow Lord, which is kind of where we are now. And now people are taking
reinforces the current state.
Yeah. So I think it just will. I think
it's cycle.
Yeah.
It was actually you've missed a step. It was more in depth than that, because you go, oh, I can't wait for the new release, because it's going to be an Arnor release and an Angmar release. Oh no, what goes well into Arnor and Angmar? Witch King Saladan, new release comes out. Ash instantly cheers as he plays Arnor and Angmar, which should go well for his
I
Witch King
think-
Sully list, which
I-
then means people take crossbows, which then means people take Blinding Light again, and so the circle continues. The
Ever on.
road goes ever and ever on.
I think it's
Hmm.
part of it though. Obviously, depends what legions are in the book. Obviously, there'll be an Arnold legion, but maybe some of the bonuses that it gets, whatever they will be, could be things that help with those weaknesses in some way. I think we're assuming there'll probably be some kind of elf legion in there somewhere as well, maybe with Arnold or something like that. But the elves are going to be involved in some respect, most likely.
Yeah,
Would that be
that
good?
would be cool.
If Arnold gets a legion that helps their weaknesses, i.e., low courage, and say their strength of strength 3 or whatever.
Well, they've already got the killing power with these new lance calves.
So that
Yeah, I mean,
helps. With
yes
something.
and no. You're probably taking 2 max in a list, but
What if they're 12 points?
they're
But
not.
that's another. That's one of their main weaknesses is mobility, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
mobility as well.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
definitely take more than 2 if they're
My
only like.
This has completely solved 2 of their 3 weaknesses.
Yeah, and the Legion as well might not address the really low courage, like the huge weakness, but it could address kind of other
Gives
areas.
Yeah.
fortified spirit.
Yeah, or resistant to magic or something.
The courage only matters against Blades of the Dead or if you kill the leader.
Yeah.
So he's hiding at the back. He's not really front line, is he?
No.
Gives
That's
Malbeth 6 will and fortify, and then gives them another mounted hero that costs 60 points. That's the same as like Durnhelm-esque.
Well, there may be
Reattacks.
another emergency podcast coming very soon. Who knows? By the time that this goes up, there may have already been an emergency podcast.
Yeah, I'd assume the emergency podcast will have already been
We think it's
done
probably this
by the
week.
time this
Yeah,
comes up.
So
Luckily, I'm working from home Wednesday and Thursday, so
I am
we can
not on
totally do that in my
football.
lunch break.
so if it drops on Thursday, I'm not going to be home to do it.
It's just going to be me and James.
No.
Let's go!
You'll be doing
Yes.
it at work, but I don't know what you mean.
Just in the toilet on my phone.
You'll be in the toilet in the bathroom.
Uploading.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Gollum's Gamers Emergency podcast.
So Sean did also ask though, kind of about Suladan and like the Emperor as well. Do we foresee any other nerfs maybe coming in the FAQ or anything to end
No.
anything else? No. I guess it
they've already
depends.
nerfed. They've already nerfed Dragon Emperor, and I still think it's a very strong legion.
Yeah, I think it's all about like when the book will come out as well. Like if it's before or after the FAQ. I'm thinking
Oh.
after. Because August isn't even
A
that.
little cheeky insight into the Polish meta, which I just learnt about on the shout out Any Heroics podcast. In their Polish Masters event, third and first were both AOL, so potentially maybe more AOL to counter the crossbows. Doesn't really counter Witch King Sully, but yeah, maybe a little bit more AOL.
Yeah.
But then
What points level was it at?
so it was like 736 points or 735. It was basically almost in the same ballpark as City of Kings.
Yeah, I can see it.
Interesting. Okay.
I also think there's a possibility that we see a bit more dwarf elfy stuff. We've seen a resurgence of Last Alliance and also of Erebor Reclaimed with Lothlorien. More flavors of that, maybe with Legolas and things like that from Thranduil's Halls could happen. Because if you tech in from Erebor Reclaimed, Fearless with Dane, you got yourself a March. You got Fearless Strike. I could see that doing okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is any of that actually better overall than Witch King Sully and Dragon Emperor? Like in a tournament, the reason why those two lists do so well is because they're just not bad at any scenario.
Yeah, they're just
right?
like way
Whereas
more.
it's consistent, right? Like over many games, which is what you need for a tournament. Whereas
Yep.
armies like Last Alliance and Erebor Reclaimed Loth, you can get a bit unstuck when it comes to like maneuverability, objective scenarios. Like if you're facing a list that's a bit better at those kind of scenarios, that's the problem with those kinds of lists. Those are kind of elite, slow lists.
Yeah, things like Witch King Sully and like Emperor and things like they have the least amount of weaknesses and
they've just got tools. They got more tools.
To like the Witch King to get you out of situations and things.
yeah,
So yeah, okay.
that's why they're so good.
Thank you very much for the question. We will move on to a question from Rick on Instagram, who says, "Hey guys, I was fortunate enough to play Ash a few years back at a GBHL event at Board in Brum. He bought a Hobbit army that day and told me it was his ambition to win an event with a Hobbit army. Does he still have this dream?" Love the content, by the way, guys. Keep it up.
This
No,
is such a
Rick, no,
good.
he does not.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a dream. It's just not one he can.
No,
This, Rick, this is such a great question, and I remember Board in Brum. It unfortunately was. We painted up my Defenders of the Shire Legendary Legion list, and it's probably my best painted army. I won a couple of most sportings using it because everyone loves playing hobbits. Unfortunately, they are just utterly terrible. And not only that, but it's also an unfun gaming experience too, because you have like at 500 points, you've got like 60 models plus 12 traps that you deploy all over the board. It takes ages to do anything. Your only strength is shooting. And that's also not very good because if anybody has 24-inch bows, you have to like move 4 inches, get shot, move 4 inches, get shot, they then move back. It just the whole you have no tricks, you have no movement, you don't have anything to do, you just passively lose. I would there's no way you would win. Hear me now, quote me. If anybody wins GBJ 100 with the pure Defenders of the Shire, they are the greatest SPG player of all time because it's got to be impossible. You could probably win an 80. And if you were
Won an 80,
but
is
even
it? No?
winning an,
I don't know.
I doubt it's even won an 80. But yeah, it was a youth's ambition, and now it is a less of a youth's history, and
If
it can't be done.
only you could ally in Soledad.
It can't be done.
I'm sure you'd got it done by now.
Well, they can ally in Halbrad, which
Maybe
is a
what you-
6-inch banner which gives fearless. Pretty good.
What do you mean Will Whitford is Will
Well,
Whitford
Whitford was
is
already a
Halbrand?
6-inch banner, but that doesn't help because you have no spear support. So you've got one model that loses every roll and then dies. And the other thing, you've got 60 models, great, but when they only move 4 inches, somebody just marches right or left into your battle line, and then it takes you 2 turns to get your right or left flank, depending on when they've gone, to actually get round to the other side. So by the time you've managed to flank them, they've killed everything that's in front, and it's just not fun, chaps. I'm really sorry.
That doesn't sound very
It's
fun.
tragic.
It is tragic.
No. Oh dear.
If
I'm
they
sure
they can't give them more movement because they're hobbits, but that's the thing they need is more movement. So
You're just not a
Or they
skill
need a
player.
smaller base size.
Or you can just like pile them in like little, hobbits.
that's actually a really cool idea, Adam. Give them a smaller base size. Unfortunately, Rick, it's a skill issue. I'm simply not good enough to win an event with hobbits.
No, clearly not. Okay. And on that note, we will move on. Thank you very much for the question. We will move on to a question from Ferdinando Piero 4201. I hope
The
I
most English
That was pronounced
pronunciation.
so correctly.
The most English
No.
pronunciation of a name I've ever had.
He said,
Ferdinando.
who said, "Thank you for this content. My question is, do you think there is a future for this game or will it gradually be abandoned? Thanks and sorry for that's okay, Ferdinando." So
I think we need to apologise for Elliot's English there.
what?
That was a good go. That was a good attempt.
I tried, okay?
We should have let Adam pronounce that, really.
I should have given it over to Adam. You're right.
It's done now.
It's too late.
It's over.
So, do we think there's a future for the game?
I would look at the data, and last year the GBHL had the most participants in the league it's ever had. So I would hope that would be a consistent theme. If there's a similar number or even more players in the league this year, absolutely. But if there are genuinely no releases for the next 5 years, then absolutely. It does need to have some top-down support from Games Workshop. Otherwise, it just will get stale and eventually it will sort of fade away.
I did read something though that kind of this recent dry spell that we've had has been the biggest dry spell since the new edition of the game came out in 2018. So obviously before
So
that,
hopefully they're working on something big.
yeah. But like before then, there was obviously a really long period of time where there was no releases or anything. But since the new edition came out, this most recent period of no releases that we've had has been the longest since the new edition. So my thought would be, I mean, so this year in the summer is the new version of Age of Sigmar, and last year was 40k. So they've already done 2 new editions of their 2 biggest games. So every summer they do a big new release of something. The year before it was Heresy. They relaunched that, and that was like a really big deal for them. So next year, not sure maybe what it's going to be. It's not going to be a new edition of 40k because they only just came out with that, last year. So could
be in luck.
A Middle Earth thing? I don't know, with the growth of the league and things, but it's ultimately just whether, Games Workshop sees it turning into sales and kind of, continuing to grow, or whether they're just happy for it to kind of, trickle over.
I guess I did have another point, but it's completely evaporated. Someone help me quick.
Well, I guess you can see the impact it's already having this year from the attendance difference from this year to last year. Because last year it was actually challenging to buy tickets for events. This year, people are filling half capacities.
You know what? Actually, that isn't some. I have obviously
That's a
noticed.
very good point.
Do you think that
Yeah.
just the lack of releases? But there wasn't anything last year. But yeah, maybe that is interest kind of slowing down. Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's for a couple of reasons, right? So we know a couple of people who aren't really playing SBG anymore. They still love the lore, they love how the game works and everything, but maybe they feel like the match play guide's a bit stale. Maybe they feel like GBHL 100 events are sort of like a traveling circus because we go to like every one. Maybe it's a case of seeing the same lists over and over doing really, really well, like Mordor, Suladan, Postal Dragon Emperor, AOL. The same list just constantly doing the same thing. So I think the game isn't stale yet, but it's kind of at the point where it needs a little bit of love. I think just to keep things fresh, keep things moving. Whether that's a new match play guide, maybe that's a new busted army like Arnor, whatever it is. I feel like something needs to shake up the meta because of what you guys said earlier about 15 minutes ago about how the meta will swing again. And it seems like the meta might just swing back into what it is.
Around, yeah. And that's because if there's not enough injected in to really sort of change multiple different, but if it's only Arnold that's going to be good, like if it's a small supplement where there's not really too much in it, but obviously with the amount of time since the last one, we would hope it is one of those kind of larger ones, like a Gondor at War or something. But is Arnor and that whole kind of time period and everything the biggest sort of thing that they can flesh out with lots of content? Maybe not. I don't know.
It would be.
Yeah, hopefully it's not a Fall of the Necromancer job where we get
what I'm saying, like
things that aren't that impactful.
It could be a short and sweet little one.
I feel like
Azog disagrees with that comment.
Go on, Sam.
I feel like Defense of the North has definitely been the book that's come out, and since Defense of the North, I think I want to say it's slowly gone downhill.
Since then,
yeah, I think
I agree.
The thing is that Defense of the North, the legions that came out of it were just so.
Yeah,
it seemed like the power creep was just way higher.
Two of them.
Yeah,
I think they got Fell Beings spot on.
Fell Beings, I agree. Same with like
Bowling's had pace as well. Like it's within the game. It's
I think the power creep has just increased, and it's like, especially at the competitive side of it, I think it's the staleness of there is no, you go to a points level, it's now been a year, say 2 years, and it's like there's not been any releases. So you look at the years previous, and you go, that won that event, it's the same points. I'm going to take that. For example, Rawson's 600 points of Azog's Hunters. God knows how many of those lists went to the GP. It was
Yeah,
like
we did see it fall flat on its face.
exactly, yeah, but that's I think regardless of the results, like the amount of people taking it, and it's similar to Last Alliance that say, or Witch King said it's 750, or at any points level it works at. Last Alliance say at 750, 800. Say Galadriel dwarfs. I think the variety for top players has shrunk due to not enough support, I guess, in my eyes.
That's what it is. Yeah, it has been so dry.
There would be, there's one big elephant in the room, as it were, that they could release, which would be like a Last Alliance box set, like they did for Defense of Osgiliath. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Another point would be, Elliot, you might be able to speak a little bit more on this, but I remember about a year ago, lots of 40k players being like disillusioned with how 40k was going and coming over to SBG to try it out.
Yeah.
And whenever I spoke to any of them at events, they said that sort of the uniqueness of SBG was a really big selling point for them, and it was actually like the most balanced, best game system functionality wise.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's managed to keep going for so long, because there is that variety, but it will eventually peter out. New scenarios would be fantastic. A new big starter box set release that would probably fix it for another year or two.
Yeah, I mean, Adam and I, we actually saw it at our first game this weekend. There were these two guys that came over, and they were literally just looking around the event, and one of them was a 40k player, and he just wanted to come along and see.
I saw them too.
How it was and everything. Yeah. So
he didn't stop smiling. He was looking at our game, just thinking, "Wow, this just looks so much better than what I do on my weekend."
It's like he was a.
There was, I mean, again, this might just be hearsay, but I remember speaking to a 40k player who would say the addition of 40k as it was when he was playing. Basically, somebody won priority or whatever it's called. That person would then shoot, and then you had half your army left, and you lost, and that was how the tournaments went.
It works
again and again and again.
It's that you do, so if you win, say, priority, you do your movement, shooting, and combat, as it were, and all before your opponent does anything. So like Tau,
this guy I was speaking to said that he could do all that stuff, basically wipe out your opponent's army before they've even got to play.
So like Tau, for example, are like a really big shooting army, and you could just table your opponent before they've rolled any dice, moved any models. I never played for but
it's like playing against Black Riders in contest.
Yeah, but you can win that move off though. Ooh.
So
what I'd really like to see is if for them to like go through, armies of Lord of the Rings, armies of the Hobbits, and just like they're never going to do it, but kind of rework every single profile instead of a new Legendary Legion or a new starter box. I'd much rather they just went back to the old classic profiles, the ones that we really loved, like the lore behind, the story behind. Because let's face it, we all prefer Lord of the Rings, right?
Yep.
And we just love to see those kind of old profiles that no one takes because they're a bit rubbish, just reworked. Yeah. And if you just tweak them a little bit, you just see so many different armies, so many different new lists.
That's sort of like what they did with the new edition. Like there was a lot that reworked and everything. So, and obviously the last edition was in 2018. So it was a long time ago. So who knows? Maybe that's summer slot next year. Maybe it is a new Middle Earth, And
actually, GW would sell a lot more models. I mean, if you rework them, people are going to buy Feral Urukai.
Exactly. Feral Urukai is a perfect example.
I forgot those even existed.
I've never seen one at an event.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a really good idea, Vince. If they just listen to you, I think you'd make them a lot of money.
They should listen to Vince Wong from the Gollum's Gamers. Okay. And on that note, thank you very much for the question. We will move on to a question from Win Wright, who asks, craziest dice roll ever seen.
It was on a bat rep.
The James Goble one.
Oh.
Oh no, I've done way better than that.
James, I think we just let James go through even the dice roll he did this event. For some reason, James's dice luck comes into Mount Everest whenever he sees a ring wraith, and then
Yeah.
peters out very slowly back to sea level whenever he's playing throughout the rest of the event. Go on, James. Tell us all your
I think, to be
amazing
fair,
stuff you
my
do.
greatest ever dice
Number
roll
one.
happened against the GOAT, Ollie Martin.
No
It was when
way.
we held our own 1,000-point tournament at Warhammer World. I
That
proceeded
was a
to
day.
heroic combat off of Azog with Thranduil into Bolg, roll a quad 6 and one-shot both of them. And it was just the hardest thing ever.
It's pretty hard. How many points is that? What, like 400 points or something?
Yeah.
One heroic combat.
No might, apart from the combat, no might spent just casual. Just removed half of his army. And it was just
That's very
chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss. Mine's got to
I would take
be.
mine. It was one of my dice rolls, and it was when I killed a mummock on my final 2 dice of an event to podium the event. Grimbold,
Oh, in Norwich.
2 dice, needing 5s.
First time we met.
And obviously he's got Mighty Blow, so I did 4 wounds with the 2 5-ups, killed the mummock. All the dudes who fell down died, and he broke, and I podiumed the event. So that was very lucky and very crazy. So yeah.
I've said this mega awesome moment on the pod before, but it was against World Champion for my first ever GBHA 100 podium. The Spider Queen charged my flank, charged 2 Black Numenorians, was about to combat off. I'd have had to do a horrendous strike with like Gorbag, the Witch King, and Saladin to save them all. However, there was like 6 trackers lining a fence. I hit with like 4 of them, and I went, "Oh, double 6 here would be nice." Double 6. Sorry, I hit both into combat. 2 of them hit the Spider Queen, 2 of them hit the Black Numenorians. Oh, double 6 here on the Black Numenorians would be really nice. Double 6. Both Black Numenorians are removed, and the Spider Queen's just in the middle of my line, not charged. I then win the next move roll off, and she dies instantly.
That's sad. Any other dice rolls from anyone that comes to mind?
I actually can't think of one that I've rolled and thought, Jesus Christ.
That's just how lucky
Come in,
you
Sam,
get,
mate.
Sam.
It's coming.
Happened
It
against you,
might
though,
come to
Sam.
me during the thing, but currently I can't think of one that was.
What about when we were at Aldershot and I rolled 2 quad 6s to kill Percy and Thorin? That was pretty hard.
Well, that's not me though. That's your dice.
James, he said yours.
Against against James, Ash is right. It spikes tremendously, either against Wraiths or against his teammates. It's like James. It's like one of our first events when James came on the board with Maelstrom with 2 elves, and I used the Dwemer Lake, and he basically shot the 2 elves. Both hit, went through both in the ways of like my orc rank, and then went up on the Dwemer Lake, 6x4, both of them to wound, and my Dwemer Lake died first turn as he came on the board. Oh, all right, fair enough.
Sometimes you just got to know when the other player's better.
Yeah, I'll mull over that question as
If anyone thinks of one, yeah. Okay. We will move on to a question from Jakob. And I had to include this question because it was by far the most liked question on the post. It received 30 likes. So the GBHL
Wow.
clearly wants to know, who do we all want to be when we grow up? I love it from
That is a question.
Who do we want to be?
Yes.
Who do you want to be?
Yeah, not what.
Yeah, not what. Who?
Upset if you don't say Jakob.
who do we aspire to be, as in like just job wise, like work ethic wise, or
Yeah, it's a very.
Open-ended question.
Yeah.
I want to be like LeBron James.
you are my son.
I will not overlay it on the.
You
You
have
should
to.
do that.
No, we will be demonetized.
Goodness.
Actually, I have to say Ginger.
I know. Who do I want to be when I grow up? I have no idea. I'm just kind of living right now and seeing what happens.
I want to be like
Ash, if you could host a podcast like Joe Rogan, that would be your dream.
That would be hard.
I could be
With
Jamie.
Elliot as the host.
I can run it. I'll be Jamie. Done.
You would be a really good Jamie, to be fair.
Come on.
I want to be like my father when I grow up.
Oh,
Even Vince
that's
is running.
As he has been a great parent and set me up very well for life.
Love that. From
Such a wholesome man.
Well, on that note,
Adam, Vince, what do you two want to be when you grow up?
I'm guessing Jakob was just poking fun at the low average age of this group. I'm guessing that was what he was going with.
We will come on to that later on.
Oh, okay. Because his question doesn't make sense.
You got to say a person though, huh? Can't be me the only one that is answering Jakob's question.
Jamie,
Very disappointed.
Podcast.
Well, we're both older than Jakob, so
That's okay.
I think maybe Jakob wants to be us.
Nice.
That's true.
He's the one growing up to where
He's growing up to us. Maybe
he looks up to you. I'm sure.
just gives up on winning hundreds and becomes me and Vin,
A hobbyist.
a hobbyist, a painter.
We will move on. Thank you very much, Jakob, for the tantalizing question. We will move on to a question from Ruskells, 1737. He said, for the Q&A. When will Vince finish his Isengard force?
I laugh because Russell, he's a good friend of ours. So he asked that question, and I will try and answer it seriously. Isengard is one of my very first armies. I love Isengard, but I like playing it a certain way. So I think the whole crossbow spam has been quite a commonly taken army this season, and I don't like that list very much. I think it's quite boring, the play style. I always preferred the Isengard with Saruman and Grima, and that hasn't really worked out. I think those two pieces are a bit too expensive, and competitively, I'd like to run a list more often that includes those two. But yeah, unfortunately, at the moment, it's suboptimal.
So there's no time or date on when you're going to finish your Isengard force for Ruskells.
Once they make them better, maybe.
An Isengard Legion. That isn't a
Yeah, exactly. If they bring out a Legion, some sort of
like 4 legions.
Yeah, but not one that includes Saruman and Grima.
Wolves of Isengard.
Yeah, but I'd like them to bring out one that Saruman's so iconic. He's like such a cool character. So it's a shame to not run Isengard. To run Isengard without either of those two. Like that's what makes Isengard so unique.
Huh.
Like you can run them with like loads of crossbows, but it's just boring.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, Saruman's so cool, but yeah, he's just cheap magic. Just is so much more efficient, isn't it?
Rather than a 200-point hero. Yeah. Okay. We move on. So next up, we have a question from Jake Rawson, who asks, if each of you got to build your own legendary legion, what would it be based around?
Saruman and Grima.
I've already said, I think a legendary legion that would be fantastic would be a Defense of Minas Tirith legendary legion where Gandalf the White actually becomes good. Give him reroll to cast. Give him even 2 spells. He's enough points.
Yeah.
Make him fight 10. Like, do something. He needs to be better. For the most expensive good model in the game, he's terrible. And to see a legendary legion based around making Gandalf the White good would be my
that would be hard.
That would be my pick. Jake?
Yep. My pick, I think for sure, just selfishly, I mean, the thing that I love the most about the Lord of the Rings that I loved when I was a kid, and I still do now, is the very first scene in the Fellowship of the Ring with the elves at the Battle of the Lost Alliance. That is just, I loved it.
Yeah,
Still do. So selfishly, I would love a Last Alliance Legendary Legion. So if they were to ever come
It's a
out,
glaring omission, isn't it? It's
It
like,
is, it really
how have they
is.
not done that?
Yeah.
so if they were to come out with like a box or anything, you know, I'm sure there would be one. I don't know what you'd give it. What does it really need? I don't know what buffs you would give it and not make it crazy OP.
Mm.
It
Okay.
definitely has got to be in the works. A Last Alliance Legendary Legion has got to be there, or they could do it.
I think you restrict it so it's like Gilgalad and Elendil, no Círdan.
No Círdan. That would actually, yeah, and then you can give it other buffs based on the fact that Círdan
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
actually help Gilgalad, give him some sort of magic resistance or something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe something like with the Erebor Legion, is that what it's called? The one where like you've got the heroic combats within a certain range of the other heroes or something.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, lots of people don't really find that useful, but something like that where you've got an interaction between the elves and the Numenor, because obviously they fight together. I guess like Kirangal, where like the orcs and the Uruk-hai have like, you know, bonuses off of each other. Something like that would be cool.
Animosity.
Yeah.
Elendil's a 24-inch banner.
Amazing stuff.
That is a good.
It's a good
He
one.
said that so serious.
Any other ideas from James, Adam, Sam?
Yeah, I have two. My first choice was what Ash said. So
Yeah.
one where it would literally be film correct. So it would be like Irolas, Denethor, maximum 4 Fountain Court, Citadel
Jay's
Guards,
list from Lord of the Spins.
Get
Yeah,
rerolling
exactly.
trebuchets.
Gandalf, Trebuchets, all that. I think that'd be awesome. Buff up the captains, maybe give them magic resistance near Gandalf, or +2 courage near Gandalf, or +1
Hot throws
fight
hit on
near
a 2
Gandalf.
plus.
Yeah, they need something. But you said that one. So my second choice for Gondor would be like Amon Barad sort of defensive. So you know, in Osgiliath as being like assaulted and they crossed the river. They also went via the north with Camul and all that, right? So I think that would be pretty cool. So Kyrian captains. I don't know if like some of the Ranger captains could be included, but yeah, something like that. Something that would be quite cool at low points would be nice.
An actual
Add a different
Gondor
flavour.
Legendary Legion.
Yeah, something to fill Gondor at war rather than, you know,
Yeah.
Everything
Gondor
else.
not. Yeah, where were the
Gondor not at
Gondor
war.
legions when Gondor fell, kind of thing. And then an actual genuine thing that I would love to see is an assault on Minas Tirith list.
Yeah.
So Gothmog, Witch King on Fell Beast.
Make the Witch King on Fell Beast good.
Yeah.
Or yeah. It's kind of too good on horse, isn't it? And then
He's
not
too
good
good
enough
on
on
horse.
Fell.
You have to take him on Fell Beast in this Legion.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And gives like a buff to the army or something. Gothmog needs to be a little bit better.
He gets the Fell Beast for free.
It's too much.
But you can't take Black Numenorians, so
Yeah.
So it's like
you know,
Army of
balance,
Gothmog,
is it?
but actually film correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like generic ring wraiths on Fell Beast would be cool.
Yeah.
They released Siege Towers as a new model as well.
Yeah. Great Beasts of
We've got
Gorgoroth,
so many
because of
good
course
ideas.
Grond was pulled by Great Beasts of Gorgoroth. Yeah.
Sam and James, any?
Yeah, I was thinking you could do like an assault on Erebor. You can have like the Will Worms as like a special like deployment rule or something,
That would be cool.
and then get an actual model for the siege tower that Azog's got.
That would be hard. That would be a
Well,
solution, actually.
I was also going to give some love to the Hobbit and say, yeah, like one with a Battle of Fire Armies one where you actually have bonuses for Dane and Thranduil. You know, when the dwarves
Yeah.
shove their shields on the thing, and then the elves come over the top.
That would be perfect. Yeah, like there we've got a good legion and a evil
Yeah.
legion.
Or I mean, I don't know why, but like in the Hobbit, you know, like when Thorin and the Iron Helms capped it, or they champion Arab or chariot. They ride like the ride to Ravenhill thing, and then they like the chariot like has like 6 ogres and just decapitates all 6 of them with the wheels of the thing. Yeah. I'd like to maybe see one where it's like fully mounted. Yeah, like you have to take the Iron Horse chariot with them all on, and then Thorin and like on goat separately, and you get special bonuses or whatever. Something maybe Hobbit related, or I don't really know about the lore when it comes to Khand or whatever. But I know obviously Khand and Easterlings are green in the game, and I'm assuming they fought previously in some place somewhere.
Capacity.
Yeah.
So maybe something with that, where you don't have obviously the Emperor, screw that. You have like Abdo and bonuses there. Might be cool.
Yeah.
Amdo and Kamul Legendary Legion.
Yeah. Yeah, with bonuses. Yeah, nice.
God, there's so many potential routes to take this game. It could not be stale.
We should be hired. Okay, that's going to do it. Thank you very much for the question. We are going to move on to a question from, I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly, but I think it's Usanvi, 8335. I hope so. Who says, "Hi guys, for the Q&A episode, top 5 most competitive MESBG countries." Now, obviously, none of us apart from Adam, I don't think, have ever played SBG in another country. No.
No.
So
Actually, counting Scotland and Wales.
Yeah.
So we can't really speak too much from personal experience, but I guess more from, what we understand based from those communities online and things like that. But
this would be
rank them like 1 to 5, but just like other countries that we think are in that top 5.
Genuinely, I couldn't tell you. Unfortunately, I'm not able to attend what is it, Sound the World Team Champions?
The Nations Cup.
The Nations Cup, sorry. But Sam and Adam can. So potentially we could put a pin in this question, and then after they come back from the Nations Cup, they could tell us about their experiences and what teams they thought were the best, as the best of the best from those different nations. That may be a way to do it and get back to this question.
Yeah, because we can't
in a spontaneous episode.
Yeah, we can't talk from too much experience.
Looking at previous ETCs though and WTCs, obviously England are right up there. We probably have the biggest league in the world, right? Most competitive league. Yeah. But I think the Polish, the Italians, the French are up there. The Australians think they're up there. The Americans probably think they're there as well. But I'd probably say sort of Central European countries are pretty strong, like Germany, Poland. Yeah.
Poland and Italy were the first ones that came to my mind when it comes to what I've seen through, like previous ETCs and stuff. I feel like I always see them. They're always either first, second, third kind of thing.
Poland, like, don't they have like sort of a very their competitive scene is very much like ours in a way at the top end, where like everyone is very competitive, and that is kind of just the way it is. That isn't sort of like a bad thing, where some other countries kind of that isn't the way that things are, and that's almost seen as a bad thing in some cases and things. But I think in Poland it's sort of it's just normal.
I might be wrong. I think the Great British Hobbit League is the only national league out of any of the countries. I think the rest of them have more regional leagues with regional tournaments as like the prize for being the best player. When I
don't know if that's true.
I'm sure
when
Poland
I listen
has
to
a national league.
See, I swear I remember listening to Jakub tell me that they have regions in Poland as opposed to one Polish Hobbit
but we
League.
have regions. We still have a national league.
Yeah,
I could be wrong. Let us know below if how the leagues are actually structured in different countries.
Yeah, and you're very in tune with the competitive scene in your country.
Yeah.
I sort of know a lot more about the Australian scene, as this may not be released yet, but I filmed a video with the Last Alliance of Noobs and Men about the UK scene versus the Australian scene. So I didn't really know too much about
it. How does it work in Australia? Do they have one national league?
No, they don't have a national league. It's
yeah, because it's too fucking massive.
Big, yeah.
It's like the same size as Europe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like how
They
we
can't.
like the traveling circus of players who go to all these same 100s. That isn't the experience there. So they have much more kind of like localized metas with the player pool that's in each of these different regions. So it works very differently. But I won't give away too much because hopefully everyone will watch the video when it comes out.
It's a bit like Scotland or East Anglia, where they kind of develop their own meta, and they can then.
The East Anglia, like they have a scene which like isn't like I don't think many of those players go to GBHL events, but they run lots of little tournaments like all the time. So I'm
Yeah.
sure all those players with the armies that they regularly take and things has its own little kind of meta, in its local area sort of thing. Yeah. So
I see that quite heavily in Ireland as well. It's pretty different. It's
I'm
so
sure.
hero heavy.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Irish soup.
Yeah.
But yeah, if anyone is going to the Nations Cup that is, not from England and watch our channel, make sure to come up to myself and Adam and say, introduce yourselves, because I'll be intrigued to see how many people actually, watch our channel from like a Broadway. If it's just
Yeah.
We have some stats on that. There are some stats on that on the channel.
Also, Jay is going, and Ali
Yes,
will be a
Jay.
TO, correct?
Yeah,
Jay.
Jay's going, Ali's going. Yeah, quite a beef. What, four? And Ben, so 5 of us.
Nice.
There you go. A majority of the Gollum gamers will be there. So
So if you see
and
any of
hopefully,
yeah.
with the year of the Go Ball, maybe, and also if I am free next year, we could get
I was invited
myself
this
for
year, and
James.
I said no as well, Ash. So
Oh, no way. Oh,
I was
fantastic.
also invited to come along, but I didn't. So
Well, let's all go next year. Why not?
Is that to film?
no. Sounds like
That's-
there's
that's
no way
Bandcamp
you're
for
invited along
exclusive,
to.
And it was invited to the Nations Cup. Whoa.
That is a scoop for the Bugle right there.
Right. With that said, we will move on. Thank you very much for the question. We will move on to a question from Harry Parkhill, who said, "What is it about Gollum that makes you think he's qualified to lead a group of gamers?" And I thought actually we would come to you for that because you wrote when we first announced the team the whole spiel about Gollum, didn't you? You're the link between us and him,
That
right?
might have been my greatest piece of literary work ever.
Was
I've spent so long with just constructing that. I think it's just because he's so devious.
I think this question should actually be.
Did we go to the other Walger,
Yeah, this should go to
Yeah.
Jack, because Jack was the actual
the
originator
founder?
Oh
of.
yeah, we said the other day, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He trademarked the name.
and we don't know why. So Ash, you might have to
Gollum's gamers.
phone him right now.
Let's see if he picks up.
He will not answer.
No chance. What do we think makes Gollum qualified to lead a group of gamers?
I'm not sure there is
Just that he's so beast.
Strong strangling fingers.
Yes, he has strong strangling fingers.
He can
That's
hold like
why.
100 dice in his hand at once.
I always thought it was from that scene in The Hobbit where he was asking Bilbo riddles. I always thought it was from that, but I don't know if
Oh really?
I don't know if that's too deep a meaning.
I doubt
I
Jack.
don't know if Jack's brain thinks that deeply, to be fair.
I think it's more so that he's one of the most cursed characters,
Yeah, it's probably that, isn't it?
Yeah.
and what is some alliteration afterwards.
Are we able to find a picture of him naked on the internet?
Yeah. Then it would just
Then
happened like that. Nothing actually cool
Yeah.
thoughts went into it.
I will message Jack right now, and if he responds, I'll get back to you, Harry. If not, that's it. That's our answer.
door closed. But thank you very much for the question, Harry. Right, we will move on to a question from Joshua Triffett, who asks, "Can we submit lists for each of you to play at the next 100-point event you attend?" Now, I thought I would ask this question to the panel because I wondered, is there ever a world where anyone would take a list either submitted by a viewer or the community to make a video on or something like that? Is there ever a world where we would maybe do
I
something?
can think. So
If I had the
thought
models-
about this one.
Yeah, it depends.
Then
Go
we
on,
can
Adam.
review how it
No,
does.
I was just thinking if someone wrote me a list like that was, I actually have the models, or I can borrow the models or get the models or something. Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah,
Yeah, I
See,
think I would as well.
my
Make
thinking
something
about
fun.
this was
Yeah.
if people submitted, it wouldn't be just like one list, then you have to take it. If viewers submitted like a plethora of lists
Yeah,
and we
yeah,
could each pick one,
yeah,
then sure. But
Okay.
if somebody writes me a list that's like
yeah.
gore bag and 25 troll chieftains or whatever, maybe not.
So, let's say we had like a fair amount of actual decent lists that are submitted. Maybe we could choose let's say we were all going to do it, right? The 9 best ones or something, and then we could like
Yeah.
view those in like an episode of the podcast, and then randomly draw who takes which one or something.
Yeah, that would be good. As long as you make all
Like they're all
of them viewer submission, all 9 of them are as we deem lemon or silly nervous, and then you randomly draw one, and then you take that to the next event. That would require some prior preparation, but that could be definitely done.
But yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, so there is a world where something like that could happen. Then that is the takeaway. Okay, cool. All right, we will move on. Thank you very much for the question. To a question from Ryan Henderson 225, who says 2 Q&A questions from some guy in Wyoming. So number 1, what is your ideal terrain for SBG? Style and aesthetic, board coverage, density, mechanics, etc. Adam will be coming to you for that one. And then 2, in your opinions, what are the signs of a healthy meta, or what should a healthy meta look like? So, Adam, we will kick it over to you first of all.
Oh, right. Ideal terrain. I think you want to have a mixture. There's a balance, isn't there? Because it's really nice to have terrain which is thematic, but at the same time that can be quite swingy. So you could have a board which is like Lothlorien, which is full of trees, and it's just a great time if you bring elves or Paths of Druiden, but an awful time if you bring all cav, not Paths of Druiden. And it's like it could be quite swingy for the game. Or there's the other route where you take really balanced boards. So a couple of buildings, a couple of fences, maybe a little pond, maybe a forest, maybe, yeah, just a mixture of stuff. And I think 25% board coverage is actually more than most people think it is. It's quite common to see sort of 5 or 6 pieces of terrain over a whole board, and that's not quite 25%. And I think what that does is there's nothing wrong with it, but what it does is it guides metas, right? So I play a lot of Hunter Orcs in the UK because I see the UK as having less than 25% board coverage. So that suits more Horde armies. That suits like Goblin Town, Army of Lake Town's really popular in the UK, things like that, right? But maybe in Spain, where I learned to play the game, there's a lot of terrain. They use 25, maybe even 30%. So there's a lot of like Iron Hills Dwarves, Thranduil's Halls is really common, low model count, sort of high ability armies. So Saramanda White is really popular. Gandalf the White, sometimes you see him, things like that. So yeah, there is no right way to do it, but there's ways which will control the meta.
Yeah. I was talking about this in the video with Sean, and yeah, in Australia, kind of, he was just saying how over here it seems like we have way less terrain than they have over there, and obviously that, like you say, kind of shapes their meta, in a much different way to us. Ashley,
We have indeed had a response from Jack. He said, I don't think he's qualified. He's just the ugliest character. And then he left the chat. That was his response.
There you go. Shout out Jack Walger for getting straight back to Ashley.
And for getting most sporting at Sea of Kings.
So, but yes, any more thoughts on the terrain from anyone on your ideal terrain?
Yeah, I think not only board coverage, but line of sight blocking is essential. I've seen so many boards where they're like, yeah, we've got loads of terrain,
Just flat.
and it's just scattered terrain, and there's just like little bits of shrubs, and that doesn't quite cut it. You need something to block line of sight. Like like substantial buildings, not just like tiny rocks, like something that you could hide like, a decent sized model behind, just to make it interesting. Because if, one player's brought some bigger models, at least it gives them the option to hide it. Line of sight is a big part of the game, right? It just makes the game way more interesting and tactical. So it's really important you have
Ideal
at
terrain.
least 2 bits of line of sight blocking. Yeah.
Sam, why are you on the edge of your seat right now?
As soon as Vince said about the line of sight blocking thing, I just had a flashback. Do you guys remember? I don't remember the event, but I remember going to an event and we rocked up and there was this. I remember looking at this table and it literally had one piece of terrain in the
was the
corner of the
Hampshire
build, in the
cheese
corner of the board, and
Was
that
it-
was it.
Was it
Yeah.
there?
Isn't that in Wales?
I don't remember.
Oh,
It was so
yeah.
funny though.
No, I was there.
So bad.
Was it
It
Preston?
literally like 4x4 board, and all it had was just like one thing here, and the rest was completely.
There was a photo like in the chat, wasn't there?
Oh no,
It was
it was
the
last
Hampshire
summer,
cheese.
wasn't it? It was like last July.
It was the Pompey event.
Yeah.
It was
I
the
don't know. It was
it was
fucking
the
hilarious.
Pompey event. It was.
Yeah.
It was.
There was one event, War. I think it might have even been in 2022, and there was a lava board, and it was a lava mat, and there was about 8 just tiny black rocks on the board, and they were about an high, and that was it. And I played, shout out to Aaron Pullen in that event, and he just moved around the board with Rivendell Knights. I had nowhere to hide, and I just got shot to pieces, and that was the game. So yes, line of sight blockers are required.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
My
I
biggest
also
problem
think-
with terrain is when people don't make smooth transitioning terrain. It's got like a really like harsh edge on it, and your models can't balance. They just go.
That is exactly what I was going to say,
so
James.
annoying.
Yeah.
Good point.
True.
Make the terrain actually model friendly.
Has to be. Yeah. And for the second part of Ryan's question, in our opinions, what are the signs of a healthy meta, or what should a healthy meta look like?
This might contradict everything we've said already about the meta stagnating, but I feel like when you go through our event previews, the fact that there are always at least like 15 different factions, 20 different factions, kind of suggests a healthy meta. And the fact that if you look at John from the Any Heroics podcast's overall tournament winning stats, the distribution of lists is again about 10, 15, 20 long, different factions, different legendary legions that do win events. So I guess currently we are in a healthy state, but maybe it's the sort of more super competitive lists that could do with being slightly greater in
Yeah.
variety.
Yeah. I guess it's like the game as a whole. Yeah, like it's in a healthy place because you can do well with almost anything. Like a lot of lists you can do well with, but yeah, at the very competitive end, it's like obviously that number shrinks. So
yeah,
yeah. Any more thoughts from anyone before we move on? No? Okay. Thank you very much, Ryan, for the question. We will move on to a question which I had to include by popular demand, as I knew everyone would be chomping at the bit to answer this one. From Bert Leach. He asks, when will the rest of the Gollum's gamers teach Elliot how to win games? 3, 2, 1.
You try really hard.
We do
He's not
try.
good at listening, but
No, I'm not going to say anything. So, okay. You just
We do try, but
Let's critique Elliot's gameplay here, as opposed to like when will he win? Because obviously that's just facetious in nature. But come on, you're better than that. The question should be, how can Elliot improve his game? So I think one of the consistent themes that we discuss about your gameplay, Elliot, is that you severely overthink stuff, and then get yourself in a sort of a panic about what to actually do. Whereas if you just go for if you just went for your initial thought, it would probably be better. Just do the obvious play. I think that would be.
being quiet. I'm letting you guys have the floor here.
That's. I've got the speaking ball. Just do the obvious play and see how it goes. Anyone else?
Adam's played Elliot quite a few times at tournaments, it seems, so maybe he'd be quite good to answer this one.
Annie is a
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see anything fundamentally wrong. I think there's something I see in a lot of people, which is the idea of tactics versus strategy. So a lot of people get the strategy wrong, but get the tactics right. And I think that could be you, Elliot, because the grand scheme of things is sort of the strategy. How do you think you're going to get like 7 points out of the game, kind of thing? Looking at the sort of moves way in advance, but the tactics you get spot on, right? So the minutiae of the one-to-one combats, what do you want to min-max and all that, I think you get spot on. So maybe like this is why I love recon as a scenario, because it's all about the macroscopic picture, isn't it? The actual little fights don't matter. You just need to know that if there's only half an hour left,
Yeah.
Can you march off the board?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the same with most players, though, to be honest.
I was expecting more of an onslaught here, especially from Sam and James, but under the spotlight,
I think the problem is like you play up to be this character, right? Where actually you're a good player, but for some reason, but for some reason you just get abuse on actually not being a good player when you are. I don't know how that's happened.
I kind of feel like Sam and James are
Ash said
thinking how to be constructively critical as opposed to just being mean right now.
I could easily be mean to you on it, but it's not going to be very helpful. Don't come up to me 3 times a game and ask me how the ring works.
You knew that was going to happen the moment I took a
Go on, Sam, if you're going to say, or I can go first.
Out of anyone here, I would say. So
I don't really know. That's the thing. Like, I do think sometimes your decision making is poor. I will say that.
Here we go.
Sometimes you do things. I think, why have you just done that?
Yeah, for example, in our game of City of Kings, I should have just bought on Kirdan.
Well, that's for the Kirdan thing, for example, that was horrendous. Like that was you just wasted a point of might on Kirdan for no apparent reason.
I was already thinking about the Maelstrom rule in the right way, but I still should have done that. Yeah.
That's the problem right there. You do things without fully thinking about why you're doing them.
Well, like I do think about it, but I still come to the wrong conclusion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
because I'm overthinking things, as Ashley said.
It goes overthinking things. It's like a good example was in City, not City of Kings. I can't remember where it was, where you just left your drum. I think it was at City of Kings, maybe last year. Where you just left your drum. I mean, fair enough, your dad called you midway through, but you just left your drum in the middle of the board in recon, which is like your most important piece. And I just went, okay, I'll back that.
Yeah.
You went, like just, but you were overthinking. Like, okay. Here's how to make it concise. When you're moving the models that really don't matter, just do the obvious play. When you're using the models that you need to assess the models that are going to actually be important in each scenario, and then just take a step back and think, what would be bad if this happened, and then just do the opposite.
Exactly. Like in our game, I completely agree with that. So in our most recent game, a couple of days ago, playing Recon, your battle line was going to beat my battle line. You've got Lost Alliance, I've got Pits of Dolgador. I've got one piece that can get through your line. The rest is going to just, bounce off the terror wall, higher fight, etc. Your captain with the 2 Riv Knights is the most important thing to leverage that game for you.
Yeah.
And getting that into a position where it's far from Azog, you got that spot on. You put Isildur in a position perfect to counter Azog. Like I couldn't play Azog properly because I just couldn't be aggressive because you had Isildur there. Perfect. But that high off captain or Numenor captain, with the 2 Riv Knights, that was so important, and you didn't get them off.
No.
That would have made all the difference, right?
Yep, I would have won the game. So, yeah. Thank you very much, guys. It's been lovely and constructive there. Okay.
Final point. What do you think is the main reason you lose games?
Probably just making huge brawl gear blunders, right? Like, I think I could have podiumed like at least like 2 events that come to mind immediately had I not done really dumb brawl gear plays.
When you go to a game, do you think, what is my win condition? Like,
That's what,
Yeah,
that's
sort
what I
of
was just thinking.
need
Is
to
there
do.
prioritization in your mind?
like, do you think,
or is-
okay, this model, I'm gonna kill that. That's how I'm gonna win. I'm gonna do that. That's how I'm
So
gonna win.
Recon, for example, against Adam, I knew I have to try and somehow stop his fell wargs in a way from just running off for free, which is why I kind of committed some models early on to try and stop that from happening. I had to get Adam's terrain piece for the TP, and I had to try and get something off the board, which is why I had my Numenor captain and the Riv Knights kind of on one side of the board, kind of to try. So at the start of that game, I was like, those are the things that I've got to try and do to win this game.
But you stopped to shoot.
Sort of. I mean, yeah, they were as my army was moving up, I kind of didn't fully commit them immediately to that side of the board. Yeah, no.
I think that's a good point as well. Sometimes you do half strategies. You're in the middle of thinking about doing two strategies, so you do half of one, half of the other. Whereas you need to gamble on one strategy.
I think I sometimes get into a position where I find I should have done that a turn earlier, and I think that maybe encompasses what you're saying there, Adam, where I should have done what I was going to do with the captain and the knights a turn earlier. And there are times when I do that, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was actually the right thing to do. But then,
yeah, when you've got your plan, execute it, not as fast as possible, but execute it quickly. Do the stuff you need to do. I think.
Get the points on the board.
Yeah.
If you had to play for your life, what list would you take? Because I've seen you take
What
every
absolute
single list
question
under
that
the sun.
is.
That's a better question than any we've been asked, apart from maybe
Holy
rules.
shit! If you had to win the game for your life,
In fact, that is
Yeah,
another
what
point of
list
how
would
you
you
need to get
take?
better, Elliot. Focus on one army.
Yeah.
have you?
Yeah.
I mean, so like last year, for example, there were two armies that I clearly used way more than others. So
what were they?
they were Host of the Dragon Emperor and Witch King Sword.
Okay, so the host of the Emperor, you didn't actually enjoy playing.
So you had to pick one, yeah.
If I had to pick one, well, the Emperor's been nerfed now, so
Okay,
Yeah, a little bit. It's still.
I feel like you should use something you enjoy more than you should use something that you are playing them for the meta because other people win hundreds of it.
that's a fair argument. Yeah.
No, but winning is fun.
Yeah,
So-
but you did. If correct me if I'm wrong on it, you did not like playing the Emperor. You found it boring.
Yeah, like it's inherently not a very fun list to use. Obviously, it isn't like every time I used it, I was like hating it, but yeah, it's inherently not that fun a list. No.
Yeah, like although you might not think it, simply using a list you don't want to use, you will then not do well.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Although
So-
it doesn't make sense because the list could be really OP, but you just won't. You'll make mistakes. You won't care enough, and you won't want to do well because you don't care about the list.
Sure.
Maybe so.
So the answer to that question is Witch King Suladan then.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't think it'd be Last Alliance after my performance with the Sealdoor. Let's put it that way. James, I need more coaching.
No more coaching.
And on that note, we will move on. Thank you very much for the question.
Also, Elliot, don't give up.
Don't give up. Oh, that is
So, as in no, not as in that. No, as in the sense of when you play a game and something goes wrong.
Don't become demoralized.
Oh, I see. You were dogging me there.
Yeah, don't lose your head and become an idiot because you
when I
can
conceded,
still win afterwards.
18 minutes left.
I think that's
Definitely.
like the best piece of advice to give anyone, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't forfeit against me. 22 minutes left on the board when you can send a Sildo through my lines and kill my Barrowite that's got a 6v6 point buddy thing.
I was done.
It was perfect against genuinely not giving up is the best piece of advice you can get. Against Jamie at the weekend, I was losing the entire game except for the very last turn when I was able to pull out the bag and win. And I was demoralized throughout the game, but I didn't give up because there was always going to be a chance. And as long as there's a 1% chance, you got to have a little bit of hope because at the end of the day, you're playing a dice game. So if you roll well, you are going to win.
That's
you
right. Wins GBHL 100s, folks.
I feel like my game versus Adam at Masters with Smaug was another thing of it's never over until it's
never over until the
The final whistle.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
I think that's the main thing. Just always there's always something to play for because no matter
You
what,
can-
you could be broken and have 15 models dead, but then you could just roll a 6 for every single fight and win a kill in every single fight if you get lucky and kill 10 models.
Me there, Sam, when I say, well, there's a 1% chance that that could happen, and you're always like, oh no.
Yeah, but you make plays based on a 1% chance.
Oh
not-
no!
Please do that more. Please do that voice more often, especially in reference to Sam.
you make plays based off a 1% chance, not a play that is more likely going to happen.
Fair.
Mm.
You know, that's wrong. But if it's already going bad, then you have to take more risk and you have to do other stuff to try and win. If you
Back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Let's move on. Thank you very much, Bert, for the question. We will move on to 2 questions, which I thought we could talk about at the same time because they're very similar. So they come from Recover UK and Andrew. So Recover UK says, is there a faction that you guys would not play? And then Andrew asks, or it might have been Andy, apologies, I'll check. Which is each of your favorite and least favorite faction and why? Can be to play with or to face. So least favorite sort of factions.
A faction that really, really doesn't appeal to me is Arnor. Just having lots of guys that do nothing but don't die. You've got no tricks. You don't even have any good combat heroes.
There's
because
no
you have to
gameplay
hide up.
involved. Yeah.
There's no gameplay involved. You just exist for a bit of time, and then you either win or you don't. That doesn't appeal to me at all.
I think Moria seems very boring. And I know that you've got monsters and things, but they just don't really appeal to me. I think, goblins, who wants to play as goblins? Who wants Durbers as their leader? Not me. Fuck that.
For me, I'm not going to do armies that I don't want to play against because I think that can just depend on the scenario, whatever board, whatever. But I definitely did not like playing Merkin Rangers. That was insanely boring. Just gameplay wise. Yeah, again, you have Legos, whatever, but you just sit there and shoot and that's it. If you don't do well with shooting, you lose. And then my favorite army to play that I've actually used would either be Khan because they're odd and different, or probably Survivors again, just because it's still basically one on the movement phase, but you still have tricks with the daughters and the free hero combats and Alfred and stuff, and then lots of allies, so you can always take a different list and never get stale. I don't think. Yeah, that'll be mine.
Yeah. Any others from anyone?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
and the
never want to
Dragon
play
Emperor.
hobbits.
Who the fuck would want to be a hobbit? Vince, you said Dragon Emperor.
No. I'd least like to play Lake Town. I think I'm just not a fan of the whole idea of Lake Town being an army. It's just
As a faction.
no one says, oh, Lake Town were my favorite in the entire movie series. Like, no one actually says that, right? They're just a bit rubbish.
Yeah.
The only fun thing about Lake Town
Lame.
is seeing how much infinite might you can get on Braga, and that's it.
Nah, they're super lame.
They are lame.
Super lame.
So obviously, what's your favorite faction? My favorite faction is Mordor.
Oh yes, of course. He asked what's our favorite faction. Yeah. My favorite. It's gonna be
Mordor Slytherin combination.
Yeah, baby.
for sure.
It feels at this point that Siladan and 3 Serpent Riders is essentially part of the Mordor army list.
Yeah.
Permanent edition. Yeah. Other people's favorite faction?
I think I used to really love Mordor and then just got oversaturated. I think my favorite list probably is, if you can count it, is Pits. I just think it's just so
Yes.
much fun.
It
Knew
is.
you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Especially after your second place.
Yeah, it's just the movement. The movement is unreal. I think it's got the best movement in the game. Obviously, like in raw stats, it doesn't, but because of the auto turn and everyone can march in the list apart from the keeper,
Yeah,
it's just
that as
it's
well.
just bonkers.
Yeah.
It's the shenanigans you can pull off are really cool.
Yeah. Any others from anyone else? Favorite factions?
The joy of just nuking people with Thranduil's Halls and watching their
Gotta be Halls of
just the tears fall from their eyes.
Fandom.
Knocking them over, giving them the +1 to wounds. Oh dear.
+1 to wound is so good.
Yeah. And Sam, we will end it with you.
I said mine, Carndon Survivors.
Oh, sorry. Oh, of course. Sorry, I was on my phone. Sorry.
Sam was ahead of the game.
I just want to put out. I know we're going again. But this is the least faction to play against. Definitely Assault upon Helm's Deep. That shit is depressing.
You had a personal little moment with us.
Yeah, that's the worst list to play.
Then you have Blind Light and you're playing Contest Champions, and all of a sudden it's not the worst list to play.
But it's just in every other scenario, it just is the worst. Yeah, the bomb, the ballistas, the crossbows.
Yeah,
It's awful.
It's boring. It's boring to use as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much for the questions. On that note, we will move on to a question from Gibby, I think, 2988, who says, "Thanks for the pod, guys. Keep it going for the Q&A. How do you use Grima properly? When do you deploy him with the enemy, and when you don't? Isn't he easy to stop with 3 potential cheaper models? And then can we do a deep dive into Círdan? What do you need to channel? Thank you." So, Vince, do you want to kick us off with Grima?
Yes, that's quite an interesting question. So I think everyone kind of defaults into the deploy Grima with them because you can't be targeted. But as you said, an easy counter to that is he can be 3-point trapped and then he doesn't do anything. So if you just keep him behind your lines, deployed with you, they're not really, threatening him anyway, even if they can target him. It's going to be very unlikely they get to him with shooting, with lots of in the ways, and he can still do his, everything costs double might thing, which is why you're taking him. You're not really taking him because he can't be targeted. Like that's kind of like that's a nice feature. Like he can maybe threaten objectives without being targeted, but the main thing is to drain their might. So if you can get him into a good position where maybe they can't even see him, he's just behind your lines and he's kind of like a big anti-buff, bubble. He can actually be really annoying because they can't deal with him that way. Whereas if you deploy with them, they can charge him, they can stop him moving. If they can't get to him, it's the same thing as he can't be targeted. So you don't necessarily always want to deploy with the enemy, I think. Against, Magic, it's a different story because obviously, even if you deploy with them, it gets to be black darted, but it's a consideration, right, to deploy with you.
Even if you have magic against Grima, it still costs that black dart or that sorcerer's blast, which is resources to use. So I think you always deploy him behind your lines, then push him as far forward as possible so that he's always within 6 inches to get that double might when people are calling stuff. And if they target him with magic, so what? That's the resources they've had to spend that turn.
Yeah,
Grima
is
ever worth taking the horse, Vince?
Oh, I think so. Grima, if you could take him without Saruman, he would just be incredible. But being able to fit him and Saruman into a list,
it's tough.
It can be quite tricky because Saruman is very expensive. And then if you add on the horse is very nice actually. It means you can get him somewhere important. Maybe you can get him to another area where the fight's happening. That's something important's happening. So the horse is definitely
something
interesting.
on a horse if he charges.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just if you add the cost of him, a horse, and Saruman with the horse, things just get very expensive very quickly.
Yeah.
But the horse is interesting on Grima. I have thought about it before. It's interesting because you can make very interesting plays with objectives and things. At the end, it's just fitting them in right with Saruman.
That's hard.
Without Saruman, he would be an auto take. He's very good.
Agreed.
Yeah, for Isengard. Yeah. Go on, Sam.
No, I'm saying if you could take Grima without Saruman, holy shit, that would be
Yeah, busted.
turbo nuts. It's like taking Alfred. It's same with that Alfred without Bard. No, you
Jake
can't
Wilson and Jay's crossbow ballistic list. We'll be like, oh,
A list with Green.
And for those
Especially my
reasons,
Grima
it's
on the
really
floor.
good.
Okay, well,
so James, this question's for you. Tell
Yeah.
us when and what do you channel with Kirdan?
I mean, the majority of the time, you're not channeling with Kirdan. The only time you're ever channeling with Kirdan, you've got long range deployment and they've got heavy shooting, especially if they've got siege engines.
Yeah.
Apart from that, there's not really any point because you never get the opportunity to channel enchanted blades unless you're very, very fortunate. I think I've done it once in about 50 games. But it's mainly in the order in which you cast the spells. Obviously, it depends on the deployment massively and what you're against. So if you're playing against, for example, Ash's Numb line, you're instantly getting up your Aura of Command on that 2+.
Yeah.
So you just get consistency. If you've got a bit of time, some range deployment, they're not going to be heavily shooting you. You just chuck in that dice to get the Aura of Dismay up, so when they do get to you, they're going to have difficulty.
Do you ever chuck more than one dice at the Dismay, James?
If I don't have like time, then yeah. Like say I'm playing against Goblin Town at a close deployment, I'll chuck probably 2 will and his free one.
It's 2 and a 3
Yeah.
because if you go the 3 and 1, sure, you're trying to not burn through his resources, but you roll a 4 high. Now you've got to spend a point of might, or you roll a 3 high and it's even worse. So
And Goblin Town charges you.
you have to.
I feel like if there's no time, I use 3 from his store and the free one, just to make sure.
Insane, Vince.
That is
To make sure, because you only need 1 left in your store, right? What else are you doing?
Yeah, but you want to save 1 for in case you do need an enchanted blades to go off.
Yeah, but I just when you roll that 4 high on 3 dice,
Because the difference between killing someone's leader in 1 turn and 2 turns can completely change the game.
Yeah,
Go hard
I know
or
what
go
you're saying,
home.
but
I think the chance of getting the 5 up on 3 dice with a point of might, if you have to spend the might, you chuck 3 dice.
yeah, but I'd rather spend an extra will than an extra might.
But the chances of you having to spend it on the 3 dice.
Yeah, but you still get the extra will to spend another opportunity.
I'm saying if there's no time, like literally the next turn, if you don't cast it now, it's going to be a charge. That's what I mean.
There are
It
lots
is, but yeah, I still think you're better off keeping that will.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's just I'm risk averse.
3 should be good.
Yeah. But
Maybe-
Kirdan's might point is
Clearly
by
not a
far his
gambler,
most
Vince.
valuable thing
Yeah.
because he is the best person to heroic move with in any army he's going to be in.
But any other pro tips from Kirdan, James, before we move on?
If you're a mega Chad, find cool ways to heroic combat with him.
Nice.
Nice. It's pretty hard. Okay. We will move on. Thank you very much for the question. We will move on to a question from Jasmine, who says, how many of the Gollum's gamers were alive when the game was first introduced? Now, this was something we
Luke Hilda.
touched on a little bit earlier. So there is a notion that we are an incredibly young team full of, teenagers.
When was the first edition of the game released?
Was it
2003? 2002?
Oh god, the months you have to come into play then.
Oh, we're touching
Yes.
cloth here.
Well, I know I
When was
was
the
not
actual
born
year?
when the game was released.
The game was initially released in 2001, so James was
Yeah. Me and Ash
Oh.
are instantly out of the picture.
I wasn't born. Jack wasn't born. Ollie
Yeah.
wasn't born.
What was the month?
It doesn't actually say. Hold on, just looking.
Oh, chances are Sam was also not born.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm September 2001, so it's before then.
That's mad.
It just says 2001. Yeah, so I played it at a local gaming store. I played Rivendell, so that's why they're my favorite faction, and the bits of the films and everything. Yeah, but I played it there when I was a little kid. I was called Mini Man at my local little club, which is pretty hard.
Mini man,
Hey, Mini Man.
5,
We're on the topic.
3 Jack and Ollie, 5 of us.
Mini man.
I was called Mini Man.
Did you use Elrond back then?
God,
Elrond was Fight 9 back in the day.
Was he?
Yeah, Gilgalad was fight 6.
I don't know what Elliot's doing right now, but
No, I don't.
so
He's
it
trying to
was
show us his Rivendell.
it was definitely 4 of us weren't born, probably 5.
Wait, 4?
Um,
Who's the 4th?
Jack.
me, James, Jack, Ollie,
Oh, yeah.
probably 5 is Sam.
Ollie.
Let's go.
Ollie Martin, please
Yeah.
come back.
Yeah, most likely 5. Maybe I was a couple days old.
Ollie Martin, future vice
Maybe.
captain of Smeagol's Gamers.
Yes. And again, Jack is still taking applications for Smeagol's Gamers, aka Gollum's Gamer B team,
That
with
is-
Ollie as vice captain.
We should
Message him
definitely
via
call
carrier pigeon to retain your spot for next year.
Carrier pigeon.
Gamers. Yeah, that's hard. But yes, so the notion that we are,
Just to cut in there, we are not the sort of team that actually asks people from our team to get demoted like other.
Nah, let's do it.
DBHL
Let's start a promotion demotion between the 2
Let's
teams.
start- Let's create the English
See you later,
football
Sam.
tier of Gollum's Gamers. Have 4 leagues. So yeah,
Yes. Okay, we will move on, but not before I give a shout out to the dude who painted my Glorfindel and then put an inscription to Miniman around my base. This is like 15 years old. Come on, that's pretty hard.
maybe go back to your roots, Elliot. Maybe take
Miniman.
Glorfindel.
Maybe I should try. Maybe he's
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. We will move on to a question from JMax Armies of Middle Earth. Shout out. Who said, classic rep, guys, some spicy gully snipes there. Go watch the back rep to see what he was referring to there. And he said, for the Q&A, what are your most and least favorite mechanics in MESBG? And his second question is, favorite whiskey? Let's start with the first one.
The best mechanic of SBG is for combats. It just gives so much variety. The worst mechanic is roll-offs. The fact that the game can just be decided on 50-50s.
I actually wrote this down earlier. I also had her combat as the best.
Sam with some
Nice, Sam.
odd. Come on.
I had favorite
Let's
mechanic
go.
as in heroic combats, and adding to that is when you dismount. I think dismounting plus heroic combats is when
Is odd.
It really gets
odd.
elite.
Or
Yeah.
dismounting to enable a heroic combat, which will then get you XYZ and win you the game, for example.
Yeah, that is elite.
My least favorite, I put strike offs.
Yeah,
Don't like them. Get very not a fan. Shooting. Also, it's a shame because you kind of have to take it if you have access to it because it's so good. However, again,
yeah.
not a fan. Dictates way too many of the scenarios to in their favor. Retrieval, no. Camp, you don't retrieve anything. Lords, instant. Lords you have laughing in to the death. You're laughing in. There's just so many that it's such a big advantage. And if you don't have it, you're, claw it back. If you do have it and you don't take it, you're an idiot. As well as magic to a certain extent. I think magic can direct damage magic, I think is the problem.
So Black Dart.
Black Dart,
Direct
Sorcerer's
damage.
Blast. Yeah, direct like Sorcerer's Blast, Black Dart. I'm not gonna class bloody Nature's Wrath when you're in bloody water. No. But things that
Collapse
are
rock.
I actually think you mean Wrath of Bruinen.
actually channel Nature's Wrath. Yeah, I think
What about Tremor?
oh god, no, Tremor's fine. Stuff that is it's such a get out of jail free card when it comes to certain scenarios that is again you're just at an advantage that is so big. Players then can't even use their heroes because they have to leave them at the back of the board just so they don't concede a VP to a Black Dart. That is going to happen. They're going to get it off during the game, and that's it.
Feels like trauma from playing Survivors of Lake Town.
Yeah, but even somebody let's take a captain for March. It's like, oh, okay, I've either hired my captain in the back of a building or the back of the board. Even then, some player just marches around with their whoever it is to Black Dart him, and then they get the VP, and then they run away. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
It stuff that leads to uninteractive, just then boring gameplay is and shooting and magic are the biggest culprits of that, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I see.
But I think the most busted mechanic is rolling a 6. The power of the 6 is busted as
Is that-
hell.
They
So is
should
that
make 1,
your
2s, and 3s better.
Yeah.
your favorite or least favorite?
No, that's my least favorite. My favorite mechanic is special strikes. Because that's actually like such a high skill part of the game,
Yeah,
knowing
they do
when
it-
to
they are
use them,
variety.
taking different war gear, knowing what you're doing with them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't ever use something like Bash or like Whirl or whatever it may be, but that can just straight up win you games if you know how to use them correctly.
Taking a flail to whirl, that's such an alpha move.
Exactly.
I'm gonna whirl.
Yeah. I actually had Ali at the Masters go, I'm actually going to stun with Saruman. And I thought,
Yeah.
and I bear in mind, I had Smaug, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to stun Smaug with Saruman's staff and go bonk on his fucking nose.
Just
Didn't
died.
go in. But again, I can't remember that I heard the word stun in a MESBG game.
MESBG. Okay, and on to J-Mac's final question. Favorite whiskey? Does anyone have a favorite whiskey? I certainly do not.
I don't drink whiskey, apart from when I'm in
Often when Bryce is
Scotland.
feeding it to me,
Yeah.
I'm
Bryce ingests he there's just a cup of whiskey and it's like you have to drink this or else. And
I
it's
can
like,
I doing that. Yeah.
oh no.
What else?
And then all of a sudden you drink it and you turn around and it's full up again.
twice as full the second time.
Yeah, it's like you gotta drink it again.
I'm sure, J-Mac, you have a favorite whiskey, so maybe we will have to try it.
This is probably going to be heresy, but the only whiskey I ever buy is Jack Daniel's honey flavored whiskey, and I'll sometimes drink that at home, but that definitely doesn't count.
Probably not. No.
Mm.
We'll move on. Thank you very much, J-Mac, for the question. We'll move on to a question from Alistair Sutherland, who asks, what are the least meta factions and how would you lot run them at tournaments? Least meta factions.
I don't think we would be running them at tournaments.
I think we simply let Sam Grattan answer this question and talk about Khazad Doom for 5 minutes, and then we move on.
And Smaug.
Actually, if you rile everyone up about Khazad-dûm.
I know, I'm back at it,
I
baby.
actually had Matt King say to me about whether I played Smaug correctly at Masters. He's like, "Oh yeah, you just have to kite with one dicey magic and killing one model and running away the whole game." I thought, no, that's just so wrong. However, he is a Smaug player, and God knows if he's won anything with it. But fair enough. I guess Khazad-dûm, I mean, I haven't taken it the route that a lot of people do with Iron Guard and Dwarf Warrior Shield, and you know the one deep line. I've only really done the Vault Warden spam, which can work. Again, it's just you're relying more on probability of dice being, you know, statistically normal, and sometimes that just doesn't happen in the game. One turn, someone will roll 5 6s by 5s to kill your front line of shields, and you're like, oh, right, what do I do now? And because the list is just dwarfs, low might, you don't really have anything else you don't have any tricks
No.
to get you out the hole. You then have to hopefully have the dice even out, and if it doesn't, you lose. Which is, I mean, for a lot of armies, but Khazad-dûm, especially when you're paying 25 points for a Vault Warden Shield, that is at D9, and it just dies like it's a bloody Goblin Town warrior. Doesn't feel good.
Would we say Khazad-dûm is one of the least meta factions then?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and no.
Depends. But what else falls into that, bucket then?
Ruffians, how would you run them at a tournament?
You just go
get
spam
lots
and
of
play
them.
veto.
What else is pretty not very meta?
Pure
We don't
Rohan.
really see
Regular
Rangers of the
Rohan.
North.
Yeah, Rangers of the North are an interesting one.
Yeah, because you
I
could
think they'd be quite fun, but they're not very competitive.
It's because you can take, say, Grey Company that includes Rangers, and then for Rohan, there's so many Rohan legions. So I guess certain legions which just make the faction redundant, like Dead of Dunharrow, for example. You've just got the Aragorn Legion.
What else is
take it pure? Like.
I don't really see a lot of I don't see a lot of Dale usually. I don't know
Yeah.
why that is. Low points Dale can work, like the actual just
Their
gear.
Legion should have just been made a little bit better because, like, yeah, they've got nice models and things. It's yeah, it just needed to be a little bit better, I think. But
They don't
yeah.
have done Harrow's not very meta, but pretty good.
If you take
Wilbur and Tom, they're not very meta. However, at 400 points, I'd back you to win that event.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the question. We will move on to a question from John Partridge from Any Heroics. Shout out, who asks, "Who is our favorite member of Any Heroics, and why is it Jordan?" Jobby's job.
Oh, Jobby's job lot.
Gotta be.
Jordan did totally commit to being a watcher guy, and that's something I can respect. Playing the same list over and over again, that's where it's at. And Jobby, I hope you go back to that lifestyle. Who is my favourite member of Any Heroics? I think it's got to be Elliot Clode.
Sheesh.
I think I concur with that. Elliot Clode's kind of the GOAT.
Elliot Clode is the top
He's a nice man.
top bloke. Best Elliot.
Oh,
And he spells his name correctly.
Good off the podcast.
I feel like I'm gonna have to legally say Stephen Denby because he lent me a like £800 model for a weekend. So I'll say him.
Denby's also lent me models as well.
I also do like you, Denby, not just for the model.
Just for the model, Denby. Don't listen to him.
I feel that I can relate with him the most because, you know, we run our respective channels. So I'll say Denby as well. We can relate.
That's good.
Okay.
Isn't John the intern? Doesn't he do the hard graft of Any Heroics?
Statman John.
yeah, he does.
Do the graft? I don't know.
He does all the editing, which is the graft.
Stephen's the pretty face.
The
The
front,
face.
Soft voice.
front man. And then
They're all a good bunch. They're all great.
Wow.
I love their bat reps. They're great.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Now, Ashley, I believe, because you were just featured on their podcast very recently, and Stephen Denby had a question to ask us.
Of course, yeah. I only just remembered that. I think we've been going for ages, haven't we? So Denby said exclusively to me, who do we think will be the top 5 players in the league this season and the top 5 teams?
And the top
I'll
5.
go first.
Go on.
The team that's going to win the league this year will be the Gollum Gamers.
Come on.
Let's go.
Let's go.
The team that will come second will be 7th City. The team that will come third will be Guardians of Distant Lands. The team that will come fourth will be the Guardians, and the team that will come fifth will be Any Heroic. I'm sure everyone concurs with that.
I do concur.
Yeah.
with this, I'm not going to lie.
I don't know about fourth and fifth. They could go either way, but yeah.
Yeah, top 3, I think, is going to be that.
It's going to be super tight between us and 7th City, I think.
Yeah.
Are they winning it at the moment?
They are.
I'm not sure with after you.
They still are.
They still are. Okay.
They're still winning.
Okay.
After 102nd.
There's time.
A
lot of 100s
top
coming.
5 players this season. Cool. That's going to be. I think Jakob will win the league. Calling it early, but
Yeah,
he's out for it this season. And James, I don't know if you remember in the car on the way home.
I do. He said he's going to do. He's
Yeah.
going to commit to going to as many tournaments as he needs to.
We go, Jakob, how many tournaments do you think you'll be going to next year? And he just says, as many as it takes. So that's why I'm saying Jakob.
Yeah.
I think the race could be on again for second and third between Farmer and Rawson.
Race part out of here
I
first.
hope that me and Jay again go top 4 and 5, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Elliot, it'll make me laugh so hard if you just made a race pod, race 2, and it's just the race for second place between Farmer and Rawson.
And it's so in depth about the narrative and the
Happy level.
That would be hard.
Is there anyone that we think will break into that top 5 that wasn't in it last year?
I don't know
I'd
where Ed
love.
finished last year, but I think he's going to be there this year.
Who? Ed.
Yeah.
It's not a bad
I'd
pick.
love Sam and James to make a break in top 5.
Yes. Year of the Gobble.
And Adam.
Good go, baby.
Yeah, it's James. Yeah, it's James. Okay. Well, thank you very much for the question. The 2 questions from any. Second to last question here. We have a question. I will have to very quickly and smoothly find his name, which is Adam, who, as a Rohan player, what is the best way to play around magic like Transfix and how to deal with powerful models like Azog and the Balrog? And he loves the pod. So if you're a Rohan player or a player without magic resistance and things like that, how do you deal with? Yeah.
Okay, so I want to answer this one because I'll never forget at Warren Reading. I went with Jason a couple of years ago, and he played against. He's a really good Rise of Theoden player. He played against Pitts against Zahir, and he just wiped him. And I think the way to deal with units like Balrog, especially Azog less so, because Azog's cheaper, but Balrog realistically can only kill a certain amount in per turn, right? And the Rohan heroes can do kind of the same, if not more per turn, because they have might. So they actually have an ability that the Balrog does not have, to just churn through. So I think Rohan is actually excellent against the Balrog. If anything, one of the best armies because they can just rip through, probably break the army immediately, and arguably then just turn around and face Balrog. Another way to deal with both of them. I mean that will crush Pits as well, or Azog's Legion, or anything like that. Just get through it. You've got what 3 or 4 combating fight 5 heroes minimum. That'll do the job. Yeah, I think that'll do it. But another thing is just get them broken, and then they'll start running.
I think it really depends on the points levels. Like the lower the better for Riders of Theoden. If you're playing at low points, then breaking them in one turn is actually realistic. But then when it gets to 600 plus, not so easy. So I think
Also,
yeah,
heroic defense. Send Elfhelm or Gamling into one of them, and then Azog
yeah,
needs 6s.
defense is a very good tool against
You can be surprised, especially with
like Azog. Yeah.
7 models. Obviously, gambling being D6 isn't that great, but if you're a D7 model with like heroic defense or something, yeah, because even when you run out of might, you're still sat there like in front at a high defense, and yeah, you can hold them up for a surprising amount of turns sometimes.
It won't matter against Azog, but yeah.
I think if you're using, if we're saying Riders of Theoden, Adam, you may not use Riders of Theoden as a Rohan player, but I would say spend all of your resources on Theoden to resist Transfix, and on the turn you first charge, call Death. If you have to spend 3 might to resist the first spell, do it. Call Death. That's how you win.
Yeah. Kill everything. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for the question. Now we will move on to the final question for this Q&A from Mr. Dewey Evans, league coordinator of the GBHL, who asks specifically to Ashley Walger, when will he take something different? Save the best till last.
Oh, no. This is quite funny because I basically am going to say the same thing as I said to the Any Heroes podcast today, which is why do I keep taking Witch King Sullivan? And that's what they asked. And it's basically, actually, Vince detailed this quite nicely earlier on. It's because I hate nothing more than walking up to the board and just thinking, you look at the matchup, you look at the scenario, and you've instantly lost the game. Whereas Witch King Sully almost never has that be the case. So in every single game, you've always got a chance to win, and you've always got a counter to everything. You can consistently do well. When will I take something different? I don't know. I actually think it's a question to the panel, right? I still enjoy using the list that I play. I can win games. I can win tournaments with it. I'm not bored. I don't know. I'm still having fun. So
you have played other lists.
Sure.
So it isn't like you've never played other things. It's just you found.
It's not like I've never played. Yeah, I have played other things. I mean, Good v Evil would be. I would look to go to Good v Evil tournaments at Good v Evil hundreds if they are there to take my favorite list and a good list as well. But I don't know. I'll wait until I get bored and then we'll see. But it hasn't
Yeah, I
happened
would
yet.
say up until this weekend, it was getting to a point where you were actually struggling to do
Maybe.
well with it.
Yeah.
Is this sort
And
of
maybe if this weekend had not gone so well, would you have been doubting the continuation?
Yeah. Potentially. It's a good point.
The problem is we've had this conversation with Ash before, is that winning, I think, is the priority. Because I think the argument for you saying, you walk up to a table and you hate the fact that you most likely going to lose straight away because they've got this. You can get that feeling with other lists. Like that's not just a Witch King Sully
maybe not
thing.
Yeah.
I think
But you can definitely make lists that you
Yeah.
walk up to a table with and okay, yeah, I can win this.
Yeah.
100%. There's no so many lists can do that. So the argument for that, just to take one list, is I
but
don't think it's
those lists though, they don't have the Crown of Morgul.
yeah, but it's more the sense of it's I think it's the redundancy of that list is one of the things that is so nice that I think you take it for because you can make a mistake and not lose
Yeah.
because you have the Witch King, because you have so many undercosted things within the list. And I think it's a case of, like I said, you would rather have a miserable game and win than
And enjoy himself.
Enjoyable game and lose.
yeah, but like not even lose, but like I don't know that we spoke about this.
We
I
have
don't
had
know
this
what it was.
discussion before. I guess it depends, right? If it's a really miserable game, sometimes it does feel. I have had games before. It just feels like either the opponent was terrible or whatever, and it's just like that was just a waste of time. And I've definitely had games where, especially when you play top players and you lose and you learn something from it, I enjoy that far more than winning and learning nothing. So it's quite situational, but I guess, yeah, I think you're hitting on a good point, Sam, which is having a list that can win. I find fun, and it can win.
Yeah.
So
Do you find that you're still learning new things about this list?
not necessarily about the list, but more about
How to play it.
the game or more broader tactical strategy. And just, for example, Farmer's probably used the Witch King and Saladin more times than me just because he's played the game for 5 or 6 years longer than me, so he's more experienced with all the lists as it is. So he can always teach you stuff about where to be better. A side point, I used to be a lot more of a hobbyist and I used to enjoy painting a lot more, but now I just don't have any time. So it would be painting up a list I don't already own, which would be something that would also is stopping me from taking another list just simply because I can't be bothered to paint anymore. I used to paint all the time and like convert different models, but I kind of just lost that aspect of the hobby lately. I don't think I've painted a model for maybe over a year. Quite sad.
We need to link you up with John Partridge. You were just on the Any Heroes podcast.
I know. I didn't discuss my hobbying. No.
The thing is, though, I think you'd be a much better player as well if you actually did take out the list.
Yeah, try.
That's a valid point.
Yes, he has taken other things before, but yeah, like I guess just if you have a little bit more variety, you see different looks of the same game. Right?
It would also be being able to win events with other lists as well. That would prove you're a better player for sure. I totally grant that.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much for the question from Dewey. So that is going to wrap it up. That is the end of the Q&A. So the celebration of the 1-year anniversary of the Gollum's Gamers. So
Yippee!
much, obviously, to everyone who watches our channel and everything, obviously, if you were here from the very, very start or, a more recent viewer, subscriber or whatever, thank you very much. Obviously, there's a lot more stuff to come in the months to come, bat reps and all kinds of things.
We've got so many ideas.
We do. Lord of the Spins. Come on.
Potential Patreon.
Yes, Vince, that is a hard float.
There are things
Throwback.
that works,
If
though.
you want a Pompey dice, look out for the Patreon.
There are-
Incoming.
Works. Yeah. So,
Or just aggressively message Sam.
Oh yeah, just aggressively message Sam. Give me one.
he only has 4 though. So yeah. Okay. Well, that's full circle. So that's going to do it. But thank you very much, everyone, for watching another episode of the Gollum's Gamers podcast.